yourself. Alright, so what you're going to want to do now is pay attention to my explanation of how I set up this form, and then and as I go through it, you might want to build the form yourself, pausing as I explain each thing and then doing it yourself. I've added two labels, one up here and then another label down here that is invisible at the moment, has no text in it, one text box, and one button. Let's go over the labels first. The label at the top I have in my properties menu or properties box over here. I've named it LBL instructions. I've put in the text of enter your name. And then what I also did is I went up to the font area and I made it a 14-point font, and I changed the bold option to true. Make it look a little bit more like the main heading here. Next, I added the second label. This label has a name of LBL greeting. You see it right there. One other thing real quick is I actually clicked on the form itself up on the top of the form, and I went down to the text area of it and I added hello world. I also added a text box. This text box is named TXT name. Since the instructions are enter your name, I named the text box TXT name. It kind of intuitively makes it obvious what's supposed to go there. And then the button I named BTN submit, and I put the word submit on the face of the button. Alright, now that you're done assembling that, let's go ahead and let's get into the code. Now, what I'm going to do here is what I'm going to make with this program is I'm going to make I'm going to use it to demonstrate just a simple program layout. So I'm going to double click on the BTN submit, and I come in and you see my public class form 1 line with the end class line down below it. You see my private sub and end sub lines, and I'll put my code in between them. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just declare one variable here, and it's going to be a string called name, str name, and you'll notice that my naming for my variable and my text box are similar to each other, so I remember that they're associated with each other as string. And just to save myself some time, I'm going to use one of the shortcuts that I showed you in the last lesson. I'm going to assign the value of the text in the text box to this variable on the same line that I declare it on. So I'm going to say dim str name is string, and I'm going to set that equal to me the form dot txt name dot the text property. And all on one line I will fill str name with the text in the text box. Now on the next line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put in some very simple code here. I'm going to I'm going to add some text to my label on the bottom of the screen. So me.lbl greeting.text equals, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a combination of a common, it's almost like a tradition for when you learn a new programming language. Your first program is supposed to say hello world. We've already kind of made a little program, and saying hello world just is kind of lame, but it's a tradition, so we got to do something with that makes your computer program say hello world for you. So it's kind of geeky, but bear with me. So we'll what we'll do is we'll say I'm going to use a combination of text and the value in your string variable. So what I'm going to do for text is I'll say actually no, I'm going to say str name. Then I'm going to put in a space and then the ampersand. That's the funny little symbol above the number 7 on your keyboard. And then I'm going to put in a space and then a quote. And then inside the quote I'll need to put a space as well. And I'll say I put some text there. So what this will say is that in my greeting label, it'll have somebody's name and the words "says hello world." So that's the code in my program. I go ahead and I run my program. And what I'm going to do is I'll enter my name. I click submit and it says Mr. Morehouse says hello world. Alright, pretty simple. So once again, just focusing on the program layout here. One thing I should note is that you'll notice that all the code between private sub and end sub is indented. And I might even do other indents for subsections of code. It's not required, but it helps me keep this visually organized in my mind. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my form and I'm going to add a second button. This button, I'm going to move my lower label out of the way. This button here, maybe I'll put my buttons side by side. This button I'm going to call BTN alternate for an alternate greeting, and the text on it will be alt greeting. Oh, whoops! I put those back. I put those in the wrong. I mixed them up. So the name is BTN alternate, and the text is alt greeting. All right. So now I'm going to click on the tab to go back to my code here because I want to show you something. I mentioned that you could create one of these private subs by double-clicking on the button, but there's another way you can do it as well. Up above your code, there's actually two drop-down menus, here and here. In the left-hand one, I could choose BTN alternate, and in the right-hand one, I could choose an event. In this case, I want the click event, and when I choose that, you see that it creates a new sub-procedure for BTN alternate for the click event. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something different for this label to say. And I could retype all my code, but there's two things. One, I'm lazy, like all programmers should be, and two, I'm a horrible typer, which is a personal problem. So I'm just going to copy my code up here, and I'm going to paste it, because it's pretty much going to be the same thing. I could even use the same variable name if I wanted to, but just to be safe, I'll just go ahead and use it because it just doesn't matter. Your variables only work within the sub-procedure where they're created. So in this case, I'll just leave that there. Now, LBL greeting.text, I want it to say, says hello, how about world of computer programming. So just change the text up a little bit. Once again, you'll notice that I keep that program layout. I adhere to that program layout that I demonstrated earlier. I keep all my code indented. I declare my variables first. And you can see how I can have multiple procedures here, sub-procedures. I go ahead and I click Start. And now you see that I have two buttons, and if I put in my name and I click submit, Mr. Morehouse says hello world, alternate greeting, and it turns out that I need to move my label over to the left a little bit more. Alright, maybe make my, need to stop my program first. That's one thing I should have mentioned. You can't make changes without stopping your program first, and I hadn't quite done that. So move that over, and now I should run it, and it should work a little bit better. And I click submit. Mr. Morehouse says hello world. Mr. Morehouse says hello world of computer programming. All right, so there you go. Now, as always, one thing that I want to remind you is that if you have any questions, if your code isn't working, please let me know. If this example is giving you any problems, let me know, because you'll be using it to build your assignment on. So if everything's working fine though, you should give yourself a pat on the back. Well done, and I will see you next time. I hope you have a great day.